everyone, this is Tanya, and welcome to my first video on Black Women Read, reviews of books, zines, and everything in between. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've been wanting to make a YouTube video series for a while now. There's so many interesting Black content creators on YouTube, but I was struggling deciding what I wanted to talk about. I thought about things I like to do, and they always say you should do something you're passionate about, and I love to read, so I decided to focus on that. And also, like most people these days, I'm pretty busy and I don't have time to devote to a book club. So, making these videos will be an opportunity to share about books I'm reading without too much commitment. So, a little bit more about me. I like to read, of course. I consider myself a Black feminist, and you can go to my blog. I have the link on my YouTube homepage to learn more about my work around Black feminism. I consider myself a cultural critic, in the words of Bell Hooks. So, I tend to write a lot about the ways Black women and Black people in general are represented in mainstream media. I'm also a proud Gen Xer. I always have to give a shout out to my fellow Gen Xers. Sadly, Gen Xers, we are the forgotten generation. Unfortunately for us, we are stuck between a very large baby boomers group and a very large millenniums group. So we tend to get kicked to the curb a lot. Um, but it's a shame, really, because I think Gen Xers, we have a unique voice and perspective we can bring to the table. So don't write us off yet. We still here. We still out here doing our thing. The first book I'm reviewing is Renee Simms' debut short story collection, Meet Behind Mars. And Simms is actually from my neck of the woods, the Northwest. And yes, there are Black people in the Northwest. Don't sleep on us. There's actually a lot of creative Black talent up here. We have a thriving hip hop scene, Black writers and artists, and DIY, do it yourself culture is popular here. So, a lot of Black people here are into the indie, alternative, quirky scene. And I know that's hard for a lot of people, especially Black people who may live on the East Coast or in predominantly Black cities, because the Northwest is perceived as being very white, and it is. But there is a Black community here, and we are working very hard to have our voices heard, to have our talents showcased, and to have the history of Black people acknowledged more up here. And actually, that's a topic I'll probably explore in another video. I actually have a lot of Black female friends who are writers and activists who have done a lot of work around the history of Black people and our contributions to the Northwest. Because if you don't know a lot about the history of the Northwest, the foundation of it was meant to be a white utopia. And it's actually why we tend to attract a lot of hate groups. Actually, the Northwest has the highest percentage of hate groups in the country. And it's because of the history of the white utopia and whiteness. We didn't have slavery, but white people engaged in oppressive tactics against Black people in other ways. So that's one of the reasons why we tend to attract a lot of hate groups. But Black people have always resisted. We've always fought back. And so I know a lot of people, Black women, who've done a lot of work around this. So I'm sure I can find someone who will come on another video, and we can talk about that that topic a little bit more, because it's really interesting, and I think a lot of people don't know enough about the history and the ways Black people in the Northwest have fought against white supremacy and microaggressive behavior and so forth. So that was one of the reasons why Simms' book appealed to me, because she is from my area, and I believe she's a professor at the University of Puget Sound, which is in Tacoma, Washington. So she's in the Washington area. Sims' book also appealed to me because I consider myself a short story writer, or at least I tried to be. I've only have had one short story published, and that was with an online magazine called Black Girl Magic Lit Magazine. And it's actually a cool magazine. They focus on science fiction and fantasy and horror. They emphasize a black female or non-binary protagonist. And I had the story published a couple of years ago, and I was actually thinking about them the other day because I realized I haven't received an email from them for a while. They were pretty consistent about sending out a news flyer and updating about their work with the magazine. So I'm not sure what's happened. I know the magazine was being ran independently by two black women. They were doing the editing and everything, putting the magazine together. So I'm guessing they may have just gotten busy with their lives and just haven't have had time to put into the magazine. But I'm hoping they haven't let it fall completely to the wayside, and eventually they'll come back to it because it's a really nice magazine. And I'll actually put the link to the website in the description box so everyone can check out. And it's a great magazine for Black women writers who are looking for a place to submit their work. If you are into science fiction and fantasy and horror writing, um, uh, they were really great to work with. And actually, they paid you too. I almost forgot about that. I believe I got like $50. Yeah. So it wasn't just free labor, and they paid as well too. So I'm hoping they come back because it was a great magazine and a great opportunity for Black women writers to showcase their work. And actually, Sim's book, she dabbles a little bit in that. She dabbles a lot of her short stories dabble in like kind of fantasy, mystery. Very quirky little short stories, and that's why I really like the book. It was really interesting to read. Meet Behind Mars features predominantly black female characters. The book consists of vignettes or snapshots of black women from all walks of life. There's the mom struggling to choose between a writing career and her family, the engineer who builds a glorious remote controlled aircraft as she deals with terminal cancer, the English teacher organizing her high school reunion and her desire to break free from those old high school expectations of who she is. The book is a great read. The stories are quirky and eclectic and humorous, basically living up to all the blurbs on the back of the book. I thought all the stories were colorful, but there were three in particular I really enjoyed. So the first story I liked is called Dive. It's about Alex. She's a professor pregnant with her first child, and she's a former addict. She and her partner, Rome, are traveling to her adoptive parents' home to celebrate her father's 70th birthday. Once there, Alex must confront the strained relationship she's had with her parents over the years and reconciling feelings of self doubt and renewed hope for her future. The second story I loved is called The Body When Buoyant. It's centered on Nichelle. Nichelle is a survivor of Hurricane Katrina. And while reading this, it made me realize there needs to be more stories, either fiction or nonfiction, on Black people affected by Hurricane Katrina. The pain of losing your family and friends and the displacement faced by Black survivors is not written about enough, in my opinion. Nichelle loses her mother during the storm and goes to live with her brother and sister-in-law in California. There, she tries to rebuild her life and reclaim her voice. She's trying to love herself in a society that doesn't value people like her. And finally, the story that resonated the most with me, probably because I'm a mama of a young son, is called Meet Behind Mars, and it's the title of the book. It follows Gloria. Gloria is the single mother of a young son. They move into a mostly white neighborhood. There, Gloria must contend with neighbors and school officials who try to criminalize her child over little things. And of course, the story made me think about a lot of the recent incidents this summer of 911 calls being placed against Black people for doing just everyday life things, sleeping, eating, swimming. The targeting of Gloria's son is shown through email exchanges over the years. And actually, I want to read an excerpt from the story highlighting the ways they try to frame this child as a bad child when really the things he's doing are just, what all kids do, right? Jesse is 15 years old now. Here is correspondence I received from his teachers about him this year. Jesse is receiving a lunch detention for failure to keep his hands to himself. We have zero tolerance for touching in the hallways. Jesse hugged another student. This was caught on camera. Jesse is receiving a lunch detention for wearing his jeans too low. When he bends over at his locker, cameras show his gym shorts sticking out from beneath his jeans. Jesse is receiving a lunch detention for activities seen on hall cameras. He and another student were jumping up trying to touch the top of the lockers. Jesse is laughing too much in Spanish. Spanish is not a funny class. Jesse takes too long to tie his shoes in the locker room and is late coming out for class. So, on one hand, it's humorous, because obviously these, instances are very petty, but at the same time, it's showing the insidious nature of racism and how Black people, and particularly Black children, are viewed through the lens of criminality, right? So this is just a young kid just doing kid things, but they're trying to, the school and its teachers, they're trying to make it into negative behavior, right? So I really enjoyed this story, just being a parent and witnessing that, even with my toddler, the way people interact with him, and having that fear and worry of how this will affect his life. So I really enjoyed Meet Behind Mars. So overall, I would give Meet Behind Mars, the whole book, an A. It's an easy read. It only took me, I'd say, a day or so to get through it. The stories are engaging and thoughtful and powerful. I definitely recommend it if you're a reader like me and you're looking to add to your library, especially if you're wanting to expand your collection of Black women writers. Meet Behind Mars would be a good start. So I hope you like this review. I plan to post another video soon, and I promise, the videos won't be as long as this one. Just with this video, I was trying to set up everything, and I will work on my ums. I know I'm pretty bad about that. So I will post more information about author Renee Simms in the description box, so please check it out. And so thank you for listening, and I will see everyone in the next video.